Okay, all right. All right, thank you, everybody, for attending January 18th IDA meeting. Of course, Happy New Year. And let's get started. Okay, so we're going to start with the roll call. Let's go from left to right. So we have our IDA council, Robert, Sharice Vickers. We have Teresa Priester, and Adam Pollock, and Christina Amato. It's the roll call, and then so on to item number 2. So proof of notice for the meeting was sent. And on item number 3, we need a motion for approval of the minutes for the previous meeting.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second the motion.
So that was Christy
Oh, Christina Amato.
and Adam.
Adam Pollock, second.
All right. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Abstain? Okay. So then moving on to the report of the treasurer.
Okay, thank you. Okay, this is the treasurer's report for the January 18th, 2022 IDA meeting. Up in our operating account, we began with an opening balance of $443,112 over 85 cents, and we had deposits totaling $3,774,450.81. Obviously, that amount was primarily due to the presence of a one-time large deposit that was received from the County of Orange via wire transfer, resulting in the large deposits this month. We have, in the payroll account, the opening balance was $21,179.92, closing at $11,004.90, so we're lower than we were at the start of the month. Okay, there's a one-time transfer coming from the operating account to the payroll account? And how much was that? $120,000. Okay, so that'll be reflected in next month's report because it'll show as a push. Okay. All right, thank you for that. The applications fund began and ended with the same balance of $14,137.50. The lesser tenant account began and ended with the same balance, $2,400. The labor monitoring account was almost the same. It began with $15,000 even and ended with $14,985. It was a $15 transaction during the month. And ultimately, the money market account began with a balance of $753,214.17, and we did earn interest in the amount of $1,279.43, finishing with a balance of $754,493.60. I know that there was a communication during the month about different rates of interest that were impactful during December, so we had a better earning this month than previously we had. Here, so we have to make motions to accept the report and pay the bills. We have total disbursements in the amount of $13,886.24 that require approval. So as a first step, I'll take a motion to approve the treasurer's report as provided.
I do have a quick question about the 120,000. Where'd you say it was transferred to?
That's the button, Michelle.
Oh, good.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Gotcha.
Right. So the other question. Okay. And I don't remember the budgeting part of the payroll. I don't know if it's something that you can recall. It might be too much to ask, but does this fall within what we budgeted for the year?
I think so. I don't have the
Okay.
sheet in front of me.
I know, we can check that and make sure, because it
Just
sounds
for
like it was
cross-reference, yeah.
kind of a good faith estimate that was made, but we did have money that we did for,
Right.
Now,
you know,
do
our
we have a
budget.
separate payroll account that we
Yeah.
keep? Okay. I see.
Yeah.
I see. Oh, sorry. Okay.
So that's a good check, Marlon. We'll check and see if we're in alignment with
Get it on my
the amount that we budgeted, make sure it's kind of
Yeah,
close.
trust me, I'm sure we're in great hands just for the purposes of cross-referencing stuff, checking stuff like that.
Can I address something else relative to all of this? So there was conversation, yes, this month about our money market account and sort of funds in general. As I think you replied to us, we're earning somewhere around 2% or something like that. on the
Yeah,
money market.
currently, yes.
So I know just from having been in it myself recently, professionally, we got a rate as good as almost 4.25, 4 even plus, just in a money market, same-day liquidity. It's just earning interest. It's not even a CD, although that's something that we should consider. There are even much higher rates on 4, 6, and 12-month CD rates. I don't know, I would assume does that require an RFP, or do we just go out and talk to banks because all banks have different rates?
Downstairs, if you could go to Greg's downstairs, if you could just go. Thanks.
All banks have different rates on CDs and on money markets and stuff like that. Can we solicit them?
So Bob gave me an RFP for you all to consider. I just needed time to put in our current interest rates to know what, that's part of the RFP, to put what we currently get for the accounts that we have. So Michelle will input that, and then I will give it to the Audit Finance Committee for you guys to review. And if you want to make any changes to the RFP, let me know. And then by the next board meeting, we could
Perfect.
release that.
Now, we can only interact with banks that respond to that, or are we allowed to
Yeah, that was the
talk to
question.
other, because if a bank doesn't necessarily know, or, we happen to find a bank that has a better CD rate or money market rate, are we allowed to
Yeah,
talk?
that's the question. Do we have
So
to
it's a-
operate within the confines of
So
an
it's a
RFP?
procurement, so you should send the RFP to the banks in the area, the banks that you want to respond to the RFP.
Okay,
All right? You disclose what the current rates are, what you're getting. See if there are banks out there now that are finally actually paying some interest. And then once you approve that, you just transfer. The big key for your funds is that any bank that accepts municipal funds has to have them collateralized, so that if for some reason the bank goes under, that there's collateral established for the accounts in I think under the local finance law. I forget what it's called, but that there are investments that they have that are there, so that if your money somehow gets dispersed, that it's collateralized so that you get that money back. And that's pretty standard for all state municipal monies.
We get a letter like every 6 months from TD currently stating exactly what Bob just said.
okay.
So yeah, feel free to, if you want, we can make a list of who you think should be included in that, just like what we did for the logo. We can make a list, and then we'll make sure that those banks get it.
I think I've seen the credit union with really good, solid
Yeah,
rates
there's
at the
some great
moment,
rates
so.
right now. And there's this is a sizable amount that should
Yeah.
definitely
Oh, yeah.
go into something.
My only question with credit unions is that sometimes they can't provide that collateral that's
Oh,
required.
that's good to
So
know.
yeah.
you can ask, but it's a requirement in the RFP, and I don't think they can, but the laws have changed so much lately, I may have missed that.
So if I understood, you have a template that you provided Chair, and Chair, you're just populating our current rates, and then you'll send it to Audit Finance, and then with a potential starter list, and if any of us on the council know of other ones that we want to include, we could do that, and then just send out the RFP. Okay. Great.
Okay.
Okay, do you have more, Marlon? I'm sorry.
No, it seemed like Cher was gonna share something.
Do the approvals, but then I would also like to know what you would like me to move where. So, pay the bills, do the treasurer's report, but then, we talked about moving some money from this account to another. I would just appreciate to know what and where.
So I have a question, I guess. I guess this is, kind of a non-standard thing. I haven't encountered this since I've been on the IDA with a deposit like that. Are we required to move money around? Is it something that you're recommending, or you're bringing up just because we can, or is there anything I'm missing?
Considering that some accounts have more interest than others, I would assume you just
That's,
want it to
that's
be in the
my thought too.
highest yielding.
One,
Yeah.
like, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt anybody, but in consideration of what we have at the moment, if we could maybe grow a little more on one other than the other, just because we already have these active accounts.
Right.
It's within our own finances, so it's not like we're doing any
So-
transactions that
So
are.
I think since we have these accounts open, it's going to take a little while before we find a new money market account or CDs or whatever vehicle we want to put them in. In the interest of time, any excess, above operating should go into the existing money market account with TD at 2%. It doesn't take but a day to transfer it to another account when we find a higher rate that we want to put it in. That would be my recommendation.
Okay,
Okay, so I can just figure out what that threshold is and then just run it by you guys as a final, okay, in an email later on that this is what's going to be transferred from.
right, and does that have to be handled by a separate motion then? Is that what you were starting to say? Because we were going to
No,
move to
I just
accept the
like
report?
to have like a trail that we spoke about this and that I'm just not moving
Yeah,
money
no, I remember the
willy-nilly from one place
emails,
to another.
but, so we're not moving on the move right now. We're not. Okay, good.
Correct. That's just more like an accounting thing, I think Bob would say, but I just like to have open conversation about that.
But at the end of the day, Bob, do we have to come into meeting and do a motion to move it, or is this just a transaction?
So to move money between accounts is an administrative task.
Okay.
Doesn't require board action. If the executive director is asking for guidance, that's entirely appropriate. The committee can give that to her, the board can give that to her, but what the board needs to vote on are the bills and your report.
So what do we still have outstanding we have to vote on?
The paying of the bills
We
and
just
the
got to pay the
approval
bills
of
and
the.
accept the treasurer's report. And that's, and because Cher brought up the content of the email, I wasn't sure if we were making a third motion, but we're not, so.
And then actually, once the transfer is made,
Yeah,
it'll be part of your report next month.
yes, right,
So,
as long as it happens this month. All right.
I make a motion to pay the bills, right? Have we already gone over the bills?
We need a motion and a second.
I will make a motion, Chris Yamato, to pay the bills, please.
Johnny Yah, second. Johnny Yah Pearson, seconds.
All right.
The
All right.
treasurer's report?
Oh, and can we do that in one motion?
Yeah.
And accept
No,
the
it's the
treasurer?
second one.
Huh?
Treasurer's report is the second one.
Right. So we can close down on this one. So all in favor?
No, I
Aye.
still need a motion for the treasurer's report. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, this is,
No, I'm sorry, you're right, I'm sorry.
And then we're going to close on the next one. So all right, so we have the motion in the second, so all in favor to right now pay the bills, correct?
Correct.
Right.
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Abstain? Opposed? All right, good. Then second
And
motion.
I'll entertain a second motion to accept the treasurer's report as reported tonight.
Adam Pollock. And so I need a second.
Teresa Prisa, I second the motion.
Okay. So now this is for approval of the treasurer's report.
Yeah.
So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Thank you.
Thank you.
So moving on to the chairman's report. So I'm going to use this time to also talk about the the IDA logo. Good, all right, so first, I want to say, for the ones that weren't here, Happy New Year. And I'm looking at 2023 in a very optimistic, positive way. As a board, I think we are really digging deep into what our roles are and understanding more and more every single interaction that we have with developers coming in. We're also doing one of the things that I love to it's been a thing in the back of my head, and I see that we are doing better when it comes to applicants and our processes. We are more responsive. We have a great team now, and also overall, like I said, from one of the first conversations that we had was that I want us to be a great partners to developers and business entrepreneurs when they come here. But with that, to me, what it means is making it easy on some ways when it comes to dealing with us, right? So I think 2023, I know I'm looking at it very optimistically. I also want to say that we should consider things that aren't. So I want us to look at ways that we can maximize an overall impact in the city with what the tools that we have at our disposal now. So that means that we maybe are going to be thinking outside of the box and making more positive but tough decisions with what we have, right? So I just want to make sure that I want to share how I feel with you all and making sure that we continue with this momentum. So that's part of the overall feeling that I have for 2023. And another notice, separate from this, is that I was notified that and invited to, first of all, notified that I am a member of Newburgh CDAC. Does everybody know what that is? All right, so this is an organization that was set up by the mayor, and essentially they do something similar to what we do, where it comes to seeing projects come in Newburgh. And so the minute that a chairperson from the IDA, whenever anybody becomes a chairperson from the IDA, they hold a seat there. I wasn't fully familiar with that, so I just got the invitation. I find it as an opportunity to give me another perspective to what's going on, and also potentially continue to build bridges with other organizations within the city and other people, right? Essentially continue to put our name out and meet people. So yeah, so that's basically the overall report that I have from my end. I could also include the conversation that we have with Gregory regarding the logo, but maybe we'll hold that to new business. We could do that until then, or the choosing of the logo. We could.
Yeah, that's a resolution.
Yeah, so we can elaborate on that later on. So that's my chairman's report.
Oh,
Yes.
A couple of things. What's the acronyms of the committee that you're on?
You know,
What
you
does
got
that
me
mean?
on that. It's got
Strategic Economic Development
Committee.
something
Okay.
committee, action committee. Yeah, what Austin used to be
Right.
on that as well, and he would update every month. Usually they just review the RFPs that come in for the city and make their recommendations.
Good. The other question that I have, based on what you were sharing, and thank you for sharing it, because it feels good when folks say, this is what I wanted, and this is actually happening. So wonderful. Thanks for the vision, too. The thinking outside of the box and sort of providing some attention to maybe our vision for what we want, do we have a protocol for that? Do we have a way to do that? Because it doesn't feel like it's exactly like a regular IDA board meeting. So do we have to, can we have an extra meeting or something where we consider some of the possibilities, and
So,
how does that happen?
so, everything that we would do it on this same type of forum, right? And, let me see if I understand. What you're saying is that currently, correct me if I'm wrong, you're asking that if currently, do we have a process for thinking outside of the box?
Yeah, we have a process for exploring, thinking about, discussing.
Okay, so
outside of the
frankly, we haven't,
resolution
yeah, so we haven't been in a position yet where we could, intentionally do things that maybe aren't so typical or requires maybe just a little more deliberation. So we have
Yeah.
resources which could potentially open doors for the improvement of the overall community, and it could potentially be through us. So it's just having that and working, I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, we did do in the past, a board kind of retreat.
Retreat,
You're
yeah.
kind of looking for sort of a vision statement for the year or setting intentions for the year, things that we want to accomplish. We have a lot of new board members since we've done that. Is that maybe something we should look at, and a time when we can talk about ideas and talk about sort of intentions or?
That's a great point.
Yeah,
Metrics for the year.
that's what I'm thinking.
That's a great point, yeah.
Some
we-
forum
we-
like that.
And it's something that Cher has brought up, by the way, so, Thank you for that,
I think
Chrissy.
the last one was just before the pandemic hit.
that's right.
Yeah.
Bob, you helped us out with that, that's right. So, 2023,
Okay,
okay?
let's see if we can schedule one of them at some point and
Yeah, that'd be,
put down some goals.
Right, I agree. Yeah, so that's it on my end. So we can move on to item number 6, the council's report.
Hi, Happy New Year. My report is really very limited. I do have an update on Scobie Drive in the sense that the purchaser has submitted or signed at least their part of the brownfield cleanup agreement. And Marlon, I do have, for you as chair, some signatures to sign tonight to get that rolling with the Department of Environmental Conservation. Still waiting for DEC to make their final determination on PFAS on the property, but I think that this will expedite that somewhat, hopefully. We did sign at the in December the extension of the contract through the end of June, so hopefully before that next expiration of the contract, we'll have some movement from DEC. So if you're available after the meeting, we'll get you signed some of these documents. And then just as a heads up to people, I did speak to Cher. The New York State Economic Development Council, of which you're a member, is having their annual Albany meeting on March 1st and 2nd. And so usually the first day is usually jam-packed, starting with breakfast, and then there's some sessions and lunch and sessions, and then there's usually a reception at the end of the day. Attendance on that first day is usually very strong. The second day, not so much, because it requires a stay over in Albany. But I encourage all the members, especially the new members, to travel to Albany for that meeting. You are a member. There's a fee to attend, but it's a good way to meet other IDA representatives, see what they're doing, get issues that are on the table that are being faced across the state, and try and get some information. So Katie and I will be there, so we'll look forward to seeing you. Yep.
All right, thank you for that. So moving on to item number 7, Executive Director's Report.
So the only thing, so for 120 Grand Street, they will not be appearing at this meeting. I thought they would be, but that probably won't happen until the spring. They're just out of town, and so because they don't have their seeker approval yet, like there's no rush anyway. So we'll wait. I'll let you know when they appear, but they will not be. They shouldn't be buying anything. shouldn't be putting a shovel in the ground. So, that project is still very much on hold, just to let you know. And as far as in the office, this is just the time of the year we start working on the annual compliance. The audit with the new auditor is going to be January 30th. That's something that Michelle and I handle in the office. And then we just work on sending out the annual letters and everything like that in preparation for the Paris report that's due in March. And that's all I have to add for now.
Okay, thank you for that. On to new business.
Oh, sorry, one more thing.
Sure.
We didn't talk about the proposed slate of officers for 2023.
Oh, it's super important, yes.
I don't know, I can do it right. So usually, in the past, we've done voting, we've done ballots, but the way we know if that's even necessary is if one of you do not want to hold the position you currently hold, or if you want to be in the running for a different position, and I sent everybody out emails, and everybody is happy where they are. So then, unless you want to speak now, forever hold your peace, but otherwise what you see for the slate of officers for 2023 is as on this piece of paper that you've all been given.
Okay, so do we need to make it official by any form of voting? Okay. All right, so is this one of the ones that we actually have to put the names, or just
I think
make
you
it into a resolution?
just read them out and then.
Okay.
Read them out, make a motion.
All right, so, I guess, so I need a motion for the proposing slate of officers for 2023. The chairperson being Marlon Ramos, vice chair Christina Amato, second vice chair Michael Kelly, treasurer Adam Pollock, and secretary Gregory Nato.
So moved. Adam Pollock.
Okay,
I second. Gregory Nato.
all right, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Okay. So, then that's when we move on to the next item here. All right. So new business. Gregory, do you want to take care of the IDA logo RFP?
Sure. So we sent out an RFP to some graphic design companies in the area. We had a good turnout, I think. We had one from Poughkeepsie, one from New Windsor, I think, and then a couple from the city. Some were female founder type graphic design firms. Marlon and I met and discussed and looked at the designs, first of all. We took into consideration who they were and where they were located. We wanted to keep the business as close to Newburgh as we could. I will add, we did not have any applicants from Newburgh. Okay. And then we looked at the cost. Out of the five or six applicants, the prices range anywhere from $2,500 for a logo all the way up to $15,000 for a logo. So needless to say, we are not going with the high end. It's just not necessary. I've worked in the industry for a very long time. Logos are the easy part. So we went with Ashworth Company.
Based out of Poughkeepsie?
Yep, based in Poughkeepsie. They have worked with other IDAs, so they understand kind of what a government, air quote, logo should look like. But they still have a cool, modern aesthetic. So I think it'll take the Newburgh IDA in a really nice direction.
So it's cool, it's cool.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, they had a whole range of, corporate identity for, like pharmaceutical companies, but then they had some like breweries as well, so it's going to be good.
And I trust, we would work with them too, so and the fact that Gregory's on there and now I'm part of it too, we're both visual, so I think we honor it so that it does stand out somewhat, but still blends in, you know. I believe, so just to give you the number, I pulled up their RFP, so you can know what we're getting ourselves into monies-wise. Okay, here we go. It's $3,500, right? And so what they'll provide is 2 to 3 concepts for the new logo, a minimum of 2 revisions. They'll provide the file vectors and full color and grayscale format. So this is basically what designers use for different applications, and even if you want like a print. So a secondary set of colors to complement the first one, and yeah, so they have a breakdown of the hours, which translates to $3,500 amounts. And one of the pros that we liked was they were pretty good visually on a timeline. So on the long end, it could be 3 months, but you know, I think if we're responsive, we could have a logo in less time. So, but you know, obviously, there's just you guys will be involved too. So, yeah, that's part of it. And just to add a little bit to this, for years I've been talking about this logo and putting ourselves out visually more. And one of the things that I look forward to doing this year is whenever there's a project that breaks ground that we've worked with, for us to actually put a face to the name. And a lot of times things can get politicized because we live in Newburgh. It might not be, actually, it might be everywhere the way things are in this world, but there's work that we're doing, and we're doing it on a voluntary basis, and I think a little bit of recognition is due. So whenever this happens and there's an invite that says, hey, let's go be present and break ground on these things, I hope you all can make it. I know I'm going to try to make it. Okay? All right. So I guess we need a motion to approve the IDA logo RFP.
I move that we move forward and use Ashworth Creative as the recommended logo vendor.
Okay. So that's resolution 2023011801. So
That's
I need
the
a-
one.
Yeah, I need a second.
I'll second it.
Okay. So
Do a roll call.
roll call on that one.
Molly Ramos,
Yes.
Christina Amato,
Yes.
Michael Kelly is absent, Adam Pollock,
Yes.
Gregory Nato,
Yes.
Teresa Priester,
Yes.
and Yanya Pearson.
Yes.
So moving on to the next one, which is the adoption of the mission statement. If you turn to the following page, this was, I believe, the changes you can see in the highlighted red from what it was before to what we've been looking to change it to. So if anybody needs a little bit of time, I know we've discussed this in the past, but if anybody needs a little bit of time.
Just a quick question, I should pull out my glasses. Are all of the descriptors in there just change in places? They are. Thank you. And the first one is the proposed one, and the second one is the one we have.
Correct. 2023 would be the new one.
Very good.
Again, if does anybody have any questions? It's pretty straightforward to me. So then I need a motion on the adoption of the mission statement for 2023, the resolution 2023011802.
Go ahead.
So moved.
That was Yanya.
And Christy Amato will second.
Okay, do we need a roll call for that one too?
Adam Pollock,
Yes.
Marlon Ramos,
Yes.
Christina Amato,
Yes.
Michael Kelly is absent. Gregory Nato,
Yes.
Robin Yanya Pearson. Yes. And Teresa Priester.
Yes.
All right, so moving on to the next one. This is the deviation notice for 191 Washington Street, the resolution number 2023-01-1803. And this is basically to send a letter to the chief executive officers of the affecting taxing entities and to inform them of a proposed deviation from the tax agency's uniform tax exempt policy in connection with the proposed Grand Street, yeah, with the proposed 191 Washington Street property or project. So, it's a pretty standard process with every single one of the projects that we go through. We have to send notice. It's part of our duty to notify the tax agencies that get impacted by whatever decision we make. So, we just need a resolution. Does anybody have any questions?
Same as the pilot?
We're not approving the pilot. What we're doing is we're sending notice to the taxing agencies of this particular project, so informing them.
So our UTEP by standard, if a project comes in without any deviations, then we don't necessarily, correct, have to go through this process. There are some deviations which they explained at our public hearing and at the meetings. So this is just notifying the interested agencies that there will be a deviation from what we otherwise have approved as of right. And I would just like to add, I don't know that we don't necessarily need to discuss, but I was really, really pleased at the public hearing and the comments that came out.
Closer. Yeah.
Sorry, I don't talk this.
That way we can hear you better.
Never been accused of being too quiet. I just wanted to say that I was very pleased at the public hearing with the comments and the effort and the energy that came out for that. It was very heartening.
And-
Ditto that.
Yeah. Might I just add too, there was something I wanted to add. Yeah, so this, I know this is for you two the first time that you're going through this, and I kind of just wanted to do this as a refresher to everybody how this process works, because it doesn't make sense until you do it a couple times. So the way this works is we get an application, right? The board analyzes it. We have a resolution for a public hearing. We had the public hearing. He's deviating from the UTEP, which is standard, right? You guys have seen that document before. Because he's deviating from it, now after the public hearing, we're going to send the taxing jurisdictions a letter saying, hey, this is the proposed deviation. In this document, I've proposed that public hearing for the deviation would happen at our next meeting, probably 5:30 at our February 22nd meeting. And so what happens is they get this letter in the mail. They can either show up or they can
Submit written comments.
submit written comments. And do we send this in the newspaper and everything again? Or-
If you hold a hearing, you should.
Yeah, so,
The hearing is open to everybody again, or the hearing is really just for the interested agencies where the taxing deviation may affect?
if it's in the newspaper, then,
It's a public hearing.
yeah, if it's posted in all those places,
So
so.
the statute requires that you send the notice. I would say over the last half a dozen years, many IDAs, and you have done it as well, have included an opportunity not just for the notice, but to have a hearing to let people come in and say, you know, what do you think about the deviation? I think you've already, in many respects, already received those comments, and they were overwhelmingly favorable, based on what I read in the transcript. So it should be more of the same, but you do have to fulfill the statutory requirement.
Right, and you guys also did receive, so now that that first public hearing has happened, we got the transcript, I sent that to you guys, that's for your review. And then after this second hearing, you know, this deviation hearing, I I guess we would also have transcript from that you guys can review. And then after that, then we could have an approving resolution. But we would want to wait until the applicant has completed his seeker approvals with the planning board, which we're not going to have anytime soon. We'll let you know when that happens. But, you know, this is kind of like how it plays out. And the more you do it, the more you'll understand how it goes.
Do we, so this is a resolution to send out the deviation notice. Do we also have to have a resolution tonight to vote on the public hearing?
It's in the resolution.
It is in the, okay, so this is both sending out the deviation and having a public hearing for that.
And the letter will set the public hearing.
And then what's the next step in the process after the public hearing?
Getting a transcript from that, we'll all look at that, and then we could have an approving resolution up for consideration, and then obviously we look at the transcripts to see if any of those things need to be identified in that resolution, and then once Bob drafts that resolution, I encourage you to really go over that with a fine-tooth comb, because if there's anything that you want to see in there that you don't see in there, I'd want to know before we come here and vote on it, you know? Or at least give us a chance to prepare that there's something there that you want to see that you don't see, you know? So look out for that when that time comes, you know, and just really, you know, anytime I send you anything, just send me comments, because we can get more done if you send me comments beforehand versus this, and then I got to work on it and then come back to the next meeting, you know? So just keep that in mind. But the next step will be an approving resolution.
So again, the timeline for that is February will be the hearing
For the deviation.
for the deviation? And then,
The approving resolution will happen after he gets his seeker approval.
okay,
You don't know when that is yet.
I see.
You have an idea.
Right, we have to go back in front of the planning board, and to do that, we need to further develop the design, specifically civil engineering, and architectural. There's some design work that needs to happen in order to answer the comments from the planning board at our previous meetings. There's some design work that we need to do, and I'm guessing that it's probably not going to be resolved in one meeting. So it's probably, a couple of planning board meetings in the future and some prep work to get to them before we can have their resolution, whatever they call it, for the, and that's when we get the seeker.
So is that like 3-4 months from now, you think? Yeah, hopefully.
It could be the next public hearing. We'll be done, we will have reviewed it, then we're sitting tight for
Yeah.
a couple of months while they finish up the planning board.
Okay.
Anything else? Great questions. All right. All right, so then we'll need a motion.
I move that we approve resolution number 2023-01-18-03.
So I need a second.
I will second Christina Amato.
Okay, and then we'll do a roll call. Marlon Ramos,
Yes.
Christina Amato,
Yes.
Michael Kelly is absent, Adam Pollock,
Yes.
Gregory Nato,
Yes.
Yanya Pearson,
Yes.
and Teresa Priester.
Yes.
So I'll just, I'll send you out a reminder for that, but I'm planning on it being February 22nd.
Thank you. Chair, actually, before we move on to old business, what was the dates on the audit? What were the dates that you gave us for the audit?
They're probably going to come here January 30th. That's the appointment that we have for them, that she'll come in person. Before it was virtual, but since it's a new firm, they want to come in person, so they'll be here that day.
All right.
Okay, bye.
All right. Thank you. So on to item number 9, old business, 120 Grand Street.
They're not here.
They're not here. Okay. All right. So, item number 10, adjournment.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Is
Trustee Amato.
Tracy,
I second it.
Yanya. Any, so, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Abstain? You can stay.
You can stay.
And
Great.
thank you.